We love technology. Welcome everybody via Zoom today. We're thrilled to have you here for the Hour of Power. I'm super excited about these beautiful people that are actually going to be sharing with us. I've met them a couple of years now, and from attending a seminar to counting them as friends and people who I really do love and admire. I'm really, really excited to be able to share some of their wisdom with you. I'm going to introduce you to two gorgeous people. The first one is Mr. Mitch, founder and director of MJB Seminars. And just a little bit about you, I'll give you the gory details later, but the stuff that we actually really like to say is that he is a master educator and communicator in the area of personal transformation. With over 18 years experience in personal development industry, he has transformed the lives of thousands of people worldwide. Mitch has dedicated his life to educating people to understand the underlying order and science of universal laws and principles. He assists clients through a transformation of their perceptions that are causing roadblocks to achieving extraordinary results in their personal and work life. And beside him is the very, very beautiful Amelia. So I'm going to open up here, and again, I can tell you lots of other stuff about her, but I'm going to tell you the beautiful, this is just a little bit of background. She has 10 years background in the education industry in Australia. She has a fundamental passion for educating and making something that a person might perceive complicated simple, so as to educate and communicate to the masses and awaken them to the profound teachings of how the universe works. And I love that actually about Millsy. She just really does put a lot of what Mitch talks about then translates it into layman's language. It's only been through working on herself that she has conviction in her ability to work with others, and is humbled and honored to be able to assist them to experience balance, love and gratitude that continues to have such an influence in her own life. These two amazing people have been people that I said met a couple of years ago, actually through a recommendation from our gorgeous 200 Clubber, Linda Avendon. And myself and Mick have been blessed to actually attend a number of their courses and have regular catch-ups and coaching with both of these awesome people. So today they're going to be sharing some of their wisdom with you around, again, some of the limiting beliefs behind, going after your dreams, but again, it's just some of the other stuff. They're constantly learning and studying and bringing new things to the plate all the time. So huge welcome to you two beautiful people, and thank you so much for taking the time to spend with all of us guys.
Well, I have to say it's an absolute pleasure, and we absolutely love these opportunities to be able to talk with you guys and share this information that just inspires us. So thank you for opening this avenue for us, Celine. We deeply, deeply appreciate it.
Definitely.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So I'm going to mute myself because there is a little bit of background noise where I am, but I will unmute, guys. What I'm going to say to you is I'm going to hand over to these gorgeous people. They're going to share from your wisdom. But if you've got any questions or anything like that, put them in the chat. I'm going to be keeping an eye on that, and then I'm going to be able to, interrupt or share or ask some questions on your behalf as well. But if you can kind of keep yourselves muted just so we keep the recording clear, that would be awesome. So over to you, gorgeous, gorgeous people.
So I think I spent last night really, really thinking about what we wanted to talk with you guys about today. And I think it starts by just really looking at the model of what you guys actually do and trying to narrow it down to one important concept, which is, I think that, your product is extraordinary. It's not just good, it's extraordinary, and it's very, very unique. So when you have something that is extraordinary and unique, the thing that people have to then cultivate is you have to cultivate the leader inside of you to be able to go out and spread the word about the product and service that you bring to the world. And the product and service that you bring to the world is unquestionably good. I've been using it myself now for over 9 months, and my kids are using it, my family's using it, and we absolutely love it. Because it makes a difference that registers on a kinesthetic level. You feel the difference, which is great. So I was thinking yesterday, what is the actual business that you guys are in? And the business that you're in is the business of cultivating leaders. You're in the business of being able to help people step up into who they are and really, really, find something that inspires them and go out and share that with their loved ones, their family, their friends. And in some cases, this can present a challenge. So I want to talk we want to talk a little bit about motivation and inspiration today. We want to talk a little bit about creating congruency and being able to deliver the message in an inspired way and really reach the people that you want to be able to reach. Now, I know we have a whole heap of things that myself and Amelia want to get through today, but I just want to share with you one tip, especially for those of you that go into homes or get up on stage and speak about what inspires you and speak about this product and service. And it was listening to someone who was inspired about it, which was actually Celine, that convinced me. And I'd heard people talk about the product and service before, but it was after talking with Celine and looking at what was going on within the organization that I realized that there was something good here, and it was something that was of benefit, and I wanted to try the product. And I love the product. So I won't go on about the product anymore, but it's great. It's great. Anyway, so I think in what I wanted to talk about just briefly now was when you go into a person's home or you're going to talk to someone about Juice Plus. It's very important that you have done your own stuff and your own work. And when we go into a person's space, you know, as Oprah said in a great statement, we are responsible for the energy that we bring into that space. Now, that was a great statement, but I want to add to that statement, and I just want to say, I want to show you how to get responsible about the energy that you bring into a space. When you go into a space to share your message, if I'm going on stage, I will sit with Amelia beforehand, and we will ask ourselves, first off, what are we grateful for right now? In this moment, we got 200 people in a room. We can hear the music pumping. We know we're going to go on stage. Everybody's going to go ballistic, but what are we grateful for? And for us, it's about taking ourselves back into that state of balance and knowing when we go on stage that we can really connect with people. So first off, the question we ask ourselves, you know, what am I grateful for? I'm going into someone's home to speak to 4 or 5 people, or I'm getting up on stage to speak to 100 or 1,000. What are you grateful for? It's really, really important in your lives. Before you head out on stage or go into someone's home, you ask yourself that question. The next question that you want to ask yourself is, what do you want the other person to feel? And you have to resonate inside of yourself. You got to resonate in here and feel what you want your audience to feel. Because when you do that, when the frequency of your gratitude matches the frequency of your attitude and the person feels that, it creates a congruency between the both of you and the person gets on board. But if you're going in and you're concerned and worried and frightened, are they going to buy? Are they going to get on board? You know, what's going to happen? Oh, I can't do this. And you got stuff occupying your mind in space and time, then you will bring that energy into the room. So you'll see that the people in your organization who are highly successful at delivering this message resonate at a frequency that other people want to be at. Now, get what I said here. They resonate at a frequency and frequently, and they broadcast that frequency frequently so that other people want to get involved. So I'll just say it again so you get what I mean. When you resonate with an attitude of gratitude, when you take responsibility for the energy you bring into a space, when you have this sense of knowing inside of yourself that you're delivering an important message, people just want to participate. So the closer and more integrated the individual and the less emotional they are, meaning high, high, low, low, the more certain that the person is inside of themselves, the more people want to participate and the more people want to get involved. So there's a really, really great term. I don't know whether you guys might want to write this down, but it basically states, the closer you are to the one, meaning the one integrated human being, the more you attract the many, the more people want to get involved. So the more integrated the individual, the more certain the individual, and certainty leads to power, clarity leads to power, certainty leads to power. The more certain the individual, the clearer the individual is with themselves and who they are, the more people want to get involved and the more people want to participate.
Yeah. So, you know, when we were talking about what we wanted to provide today for this event, we were thinking about what you guys want to bring to the table, and what you guys have is a really great product, but it's not about the product. It's actually nothing to do with the product. It's about what you want to leave behind. It's about the legacy you want to leave behind, because the legacy that you leave is your attitude, your own self, what you bring to the table. So it's not to do with the product, it's got to do with what you bring to the table. And the thing is that that's everybody's dream. Everybody's dream here is to be something, or to leave something greater, leave the place here greater than how they found it. And that's what all of you guys, and the guys that we know that are on this call, and the guys that we've spoken to in the past in terms of Juice Plus, everybody's on the same page with that. Now, the thing is though, is that we can get caught up in helping other people. We can get caught up in making it all about them. And we forget that it has to start somewhere, and it has to start with ourselves. So the legacy that you want to leave has to start with yourself and how you feel about yourself.
Yeah. So let us just elaborate a little bit further on that, okay? People want to run around in the world fixing and mending the world. So they want others to do something that in actual fact they need to do. So leadership is an inside job. You know, it starts from within. We lead from within. And if we're not leading, we're herding. Now, when we're herding, we're very emotional. We're trying to get everybody up the hill. We want to push everybody up the hill, and everything seems like a push. And it depletes our energy. And at the end of the day, we're exhausted and we're not inspired, but we're tired. So when you're tired, you're herding. When you're a leader and when you're inspired from the inside out, and when you're living what is in accordance with your top 3 values, which is where your wealth lies, when you're inspired from the inside, people just want to get involved. It's unquestionable. And you'll notice within your organization, you will see the people that need to go within, and you'll see the people that, the ones that need to go within are the ones that are normally trying to fix everything on the outside and trying to, you know, squeeze everybody and say, you got to do this, you got to try this product, da. But the real leaders, the people who really, really step up into this, have done their work. They've gone within, and I'll give you another great statement. When you go within in your life, you never go without. And transformation or success is an inside job. It happens from within. And what I mean by that is that when you go within and you're inside, you're feeling inspired, what actually happens on the inside is really cool. We have cells called glial cells. Now, glial means glue. We used to think that glial cells were simply cells that helped all the other cells stick together. But in actual fact, what we're finding is that glial cells are the broadcasting cells. So when you're inspired on the inside and you have a congruency between your dreams and aspirations on the inside and what it feels like for you to fulfill your dreams and aspirations, and they match the reality on the outside, what happens is that you vibrate, and your glial cells vibrate and broadcast into the atmosphere. And as they broadcast into the atmosphere, what happens is you have particles that collaborate and collide together to bring about what you're feeling about. So I'm training a boxer at the moment, and I can't talk very much about his career right now because he's climbing the ranks, and there's some really high successes happening for him. So I can mention his name. His name is Dennis Hogan. But in dealing with Dennis, what we're doing is that the matches, the world titles, all of these things have already occurred. It's already happened. We're not coaching him to get into the ring. I'm coaching him outside of the ring. What is the difference you're making in the world? What does it look like up ahead? And I'm matching the frequency of the inside of him so that he feels as if the event has already occurred. And when you feel inside of yourself that the successes that you want for yourself and the world, not the other way around, the successes you want for yourself and the world have already occurred, it's only a matter of time before those successes and the world matches the frequency that you're feeling on the inside. So I'll just say one more thing because I know you want to get in. Success is an inside job, and it's a process of matching the frequency on the inside with how you want to see the world turn out on the outside. When you do that, the world has already, the achievement has already occurred within your life.
So I just want to clarify what Mitch has just said. So rather than training somebody to be in the ring, or rather than training Dennis to be in the ring, what he's doing is he's training him to be outside. He's training him to show that the event that he's already looking for is just a stepping stone along the way. Because if it's just a stepping stone along the way, what happens is that everything that needs to be done to make that happen is a given. It's already happening. He's looking greater ahead. He's looking further ahead to say, okay, who am I influencing? What's the speech I'm going to make afterwards? What's going to happen after this event? Does that make sense? So rather than focusing on the stepping stone, he's focusing on the bigger picture, the end game, the end result. When you focus on the end result, everything that needs to happen to make that occur just happens along the way. Yeah.
So the universe is conspiring. It's conspiring to bring about your dreams and aspirations. Now, I want to talk to you guys about success in terms of creating successes in halves. Now, in order, because we're talking about Dennis, in order for us to look at Dennis, my objective is to get Dennis to handle the whole of everything, because we're now at a point where in human development, personal development, coaching, all of that sort of stuff is way beyond the concept that you can get successful in halves. And what's happening is that the masses are waking up to that too. There's not one leader amongst you that will not tell you that becoming successful is pleasure and pain. It's unquestionable. Yet, sometimes because we come from a legacy or a lineage behind us of perceiving that we're going to get successful in halves, we still want to perpetuate that delusion that when we get there, life is going to be all plus, plus, plus. It's not going to be all plus, plus, plus. It's going to be both. And in it being both, at that point, you realize, and when I talk about both, the brain still goes through, so you're going to tell me it's going to be plus and minus? No, I'm going to tell you it's going to be neither. I'm going to tell you that when you're in that true space of being absolutely, truly successful in achieving your dreams and aspirations, in that moment, you know, there is no pleasure and pain, no happy and sad, no good, no bad, no right, no wrong. There is just a state of pure humility. There is just a state where you got a tear rolling down the side of your face, and you know in that moment that you have achieved what innately you were born here to achieve. And when we're in that moment, we're in a space of absolute true love and gratitude. Now, if that's the case, let's think about that for a minute. If we're in that space of true love and gratitude, we're not in a state of elation. We're not punching the air. We're not high-fiving each other. We're in a state of realizing, oh my God, this whole universe and every breath that was ever taken, every moment that was ever experienced was specifically designed in order to take me to here. And when you have that realization that the universe had your back and conspired the whole time, even when you were in those states of pain or in those states of elation, the universe had your back the whole time. When you're in that moment, there's a tear of gratitude rolls down the side of your face. And at that moment, you're in a state of wholeness and awakeness. Now, let's say you can start to experience that moment every day. Let's say every morning you wake up, you just take 10 minutes aside before you get into the shower, before you take your pajamas off, before you go and have your cereal. Let's say that in that moment, which is one of the most fertile moments for the brain, because in that moment, your brain is in alpha and theta. And when your brain is in alpha and theta, it's actually in the creation waves. And let's say in that moment, you stop and you take 10 minutes aside to slip into that point inside of yourself where you feel truly grateful. And we now know that we broadcast, so our energy, the energy around us broadcasts and expands when we, and this is, you can check out this through any of Joe Dispenza's research and any neurological research, you'll see this. When we're in this state of grace and gratitude, we're broadcasting into the atmosphere. And as we broadcast into the atmosphere, we're actually controlling particles and bringing about what we're feeling about. So when we take responsibility for how we feel in the morning and we allow ourselves to slip into that space of grace and gratitude, the more frequently we do it, the quicker the events occur. And the more frequently you do it, the more we have control of our environment. But I think what we have to understand as leaders, because remember, guys, you're in the business of cultivating leaders. That's a very big responsibility. And that responsibility starts at home. And responsibility is about your ability to respond in your life. So when you stop and you tap into that space of love, grace, and gratitude, and you broadcast into the atmosphere, you're controlling your environment now, and you're bringing about what you want. Don't promote the illusion of plus, 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 or minus, minus, minus. Promote the illusion of being in a state of grace and gratitude, of feeling as if the events have already occurred within your life.
Anyone who you know that is successful will not tell you that it's just one way. And so if you can understand that before you hit the next level, you will hit the next level way more easily, because what's going to happen is you're going to realize that it takes both to be at that level. So can we just talk a little bit about bottom up and top down?
Can I just cover one more thing in saying that, just while I have it on my mind? You know, we get praised and reprimanded as we evolve within our organization. And the greater the reprimand that we get in terms of what we say, because we say things that push the envelope. You know, I say to people all the time, no matter what's occurred in your life, you are loved. No matter what has happened, and your objective is not to spend your life going through your life pointing out that life screwed up, because life did not screw up. Because if you think that life screwed up, well, then that makes your life a screw up. Your objective is to find the blessings in everything that's going on within your life and feel that state of resonance.
So that's the same thing. Again, if you expect to get to the next level and you haven't pissed anybody off along the way, you're probably not going to get to the next level. In order to move forward in your life, you have to be able to equally handle the plus and the minus, plus and the minus. So every level of success, every level of promotion in life is a new level of emotion, a new level of being able to handle the new levels of pluses and minuses that come along the way.
Tell me one billionaire that has not been praised and reprimanded throughout his career. You just won't see them. Tell me, it's just not possible. Nothing in reality happens in halves. You will not get rich trying to collect coins that only have one side. It just doesn't happen. But you've got to be aware that when a challenge turns up, it's simply there for the purpose of enabling you, for getting you to step up truly into the person that you know you can actually be.
So what happens is that as human beings, we default into going back to routine. Let me just explain how that happens in the brain as you grow. So when you first turn up here in the world, you're a child, you don't understand what anything means. So somebody comes and gives you a hug. How do I categorize this? What does this mean? Somebody gives you a skateboard. How do I categorize this? What does it mean? You've got all this sensory information coming at you from every angle. So you don't know where to put that stuff. By the time you hit 8 years old, you've got enough information that you can start to categorize that information. You can start to use that information that says, okay, when this happens, this means this. When this happens, this means this. So what happens is that your frontal lobe then kicks in, the frontal lobe in your brain kicks in and starts to organize everything in the brain. This is a really simplistic way of explaining it just for the purpose of getting the information across. Now, by the time you're 8 years old and the frontal lobe starts to kick in and starts to organize the information, what happens then is that whenever a new piece of information comes in, you've already got a place to put that information. So if somebody speaks a certain way to you, you can in your mind, you've got, okay, that person was being nice or that person was being nasty. I want to spend more time with this person. I don't want to spend more time with this person. Or I like this thing. I don't like this thing, based on the information that you've already collated in the years between 0 to 8. So what happens is that every new piece of information that comes in, gets categorized for the purpose of us keeping ourselves safe, for us coping with this mechanism, this way of getting through life. We call this bottom up because what happens is once you've hit the ages of 0 to 8, once your frontal lobe's kicked in, done the teenage years, everything that happens, we categorize that information in order for us to keep going along the way that we're going. Bottom up, when we bottom up something, we're in a routine mode. Routine means that we're doing the same thing, driving the same way to work, eating the same foods, doing the same exercises, or it means that we're changing them slightly, but the emotion that's involved is exactly the same. Does that make sense?
So the difficulty with routine is that, routine lulls the brain to sleep. So the brain is constantly trying to find the least road of resistance in terms of success. It wants to find the easiest path. So literally, if your brain could sit on a toilet, be fed and wee and poo and sleep, it would be in heaven. If it didn't have to do anything, it would be in heaven.
Because it's in survival mode. So what it's doing is that if that's the basics it can do to survive, it will do that. Does that make sense? So your brain wants to go back to that point because it takes the least road of resistance, like Mitch said. It's like the grooves in a record. It just keeps repeating and going around in circles. Now, I'll give you an example of this. When you first learn how to drive, would you agree that the first time you get into a car, everything is like, new, awake, aware. You don't know whether you're going to kill somebody if you put your foot down or if you're going to drive your car into the pole if you turn it too far or whatever. So your brain is alive and it's awake and it's aware and it's just focused on, like, how do I get through this thing? By the time you've been in a car for 2 weeks, you can drive to work without even thinking. It's just an automatic thing. That's your brain going into bottom up mode. It's going into routine mode. Now, because your brain is pretty adaptable, what will happen is if it hits a pothole or if there's a I don't know, a stick on the road or something like that, it knows how to make those things it knows how to deal with those things still by being in this routine mode. Does that make sense? But let's say something massive happens, like you're in the middle of St. George's Terrace or another main street in your town, and a deer jumps in front of your car. It's something totally unexpected. Then you have to go into top-down mode. And top-down mode works like this. It's where, okay, all these things that I know in order to deal with driving a car have just been thrown on their head because there's a deer in front of my car in the middle of a main street in the city.
So you're reaching for handbrakes and brakes and, you're like panicking, oh my God. So what happens is the brain is no longer in that comfortable mode. It becomes uncomfortable and you become stressed.
Yeah, well, but what happens is that you're also in creative mode, because in that creative mode, you have to say, okay, what tools do I have at my disposal to be able to deal with this situation? And then once you've dealt with the situation, then you go back to routine mode again. So your brain will stay in routine mode unless something outside of it will trigger it to go into a top-down mode or into a creation mode where you have to think in a different way. Now, here's the thing. If you, rather than waiting for an outside influence to help us to get into this creative mode, there's a way to be able to do it for ourselves, to become comfortable with being uncomfortable, meaning that we look for the challenges. We look for those things that are a little bit difficult, because it means that what we're doing is we're stepping up in terms of using our brain more. It's stepping up instead of going into that routine mode, being in sleep mode, and being able to navigate in a different way through life. Does that make sense?
So I think that it's important in your life. You see, if you don't locate the challenges in your life, they tend to locate you.
Yes.
So it's really important to ask yourself a couple of questions. Like, when you wake up every morning, how could you be more organized? How could you be more disciplined? How could you be more focused? What is it that you need to look at inside of yourself? What are the concepts you're running in your brain, that are stopping you from getting ahead? So when we start to ask these questions, it starts to lead us inside a little bit. And I'm talking to you about asking questions that help you to confront for the purpose of creating a greater sphere of influence. The questions that you ask yourself, if you're walking in to see a client, what is the concept that's running in your head? What are you telling yourself? How are you speaking to yourself? And when we start to look at this, we start to realize, especially as leaders, guys, we start to realize, okay, if I'm telling myself I'm not smart enough, I'm not intelligent enough, I'm not sexy enough, or if we're even doing it on the outside, we're going, this person is behaving like this, or this person is behaving like that. I don't like this person's behavior over here. If we're doing this, well, then we got an inner dominating thought, which is the founding thought of all thoughts. And that inner dominating thought is created between the age of 0 and 8 years old,
when all that information is coming in and we're categorizing it. So I just want to say, on top of what Mitch has said is sometimes we might think like, I'm not worthy, I'm not smart enough, etc. But sometimes it doesn't appear like that. Sometimes it appears in our life through patterns, through cycles, through repetitive things that occur. For example, it might occur with the fact that you don't like going to see certain people or talking to certain people because you feel a certain way, and the same emotions come up every time you go to that space. Or it might be that every time you have a conversation with your family or with your partner or with your mother or with somebody, that you've got the same emotions coming up. So you might not have the conscious thought, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not intelligent enough, or whatever. But you start to see repetitive cycles that occur in your life that speak to a deeper thought that's fueling those.
So let's in terms of your organization, those cycles might be, why do I keep reaching like a glass ceiling? I keep reaching this glass ceiling where, I'll have a certain amount of wealth and I can't get any further. I can't get to the next level. I want to be able to get to the next level. I can't get to the next level. Or I'll build 6 clients this week, but I'll lose 6 clients the week after. So you start to notice this repetitive cycle turning up in your life. So cycles are really important because they're an outer influence. They're the exterior world trying to guide you within so that you stop going without. It's not that the universe is giving you a hard time. It's saying, buddy, I need you to look. I need you to think about what's going on at that specific time. What are you feeling deep inside of yourself? Because people who are highly successful in the world are really inwardly fluent, and they have high levels of self-worth. And when you have high levels of self-worth, you've got really clear parameters and boundaries. And when you have high levels of self-worth, you communicate to yourself really differently. I'll often stand in a seminar room and say, okay, guys, how many of you guys would plug a speaker into each ear right now and broadcast into the room and into the world how you speak to yourself? And most people go, oh my God, I would never do that. And the reason being is because how they speak to themselves, both sometimes consciously, but also unconsciously, they would never want anybody to know. And the truth about it is that you're building your whole world based on how you speak to yourself. So that inner dominating thought is the founding thought of all thoughts. It's the founding thought of all the conversations that go on inside of your mind. And if the conversation that goes on inside of your mind is, I'm not smart enough, I'm not sexy enough, I'm not wise enough, I'm never going to get there, well, you have to do something about that conversation you're having inside of your mind.
And that's the point of view. This is your bottom-up point of view by which you see the world.
Yeah.
So this is how you approach anything that happens in your life. Something will come in and you'll go, okay, that doesn't match my point of view, so I'm going to discard that. This doesn't match my point of view, and I'm going to discard that.
Get what she said there. That's gold. So your point of view is kind of like, if we have a circle around here, we've got this sphere of influence. And we build our reality out to the outer rims of that sphere of influence. And we think we've been successful. And we're like, wow, I've been really successful. I've got my clients up here and everything's going really well. And then suddenly, you can't get beyond that point. So that sphere of influence has numbers attached to it, involvement attached to it, people you hang out with, and you'll build your life to get out there, and then you can't get any further. So that point out here, then what happens is that you find yourself dismantling your database, dismantling your clients, dismantling your wealth. And the reason you do that is because you're more addicted to the process of getting there as opposed to the there itself. But innately, so if you can imagine then that at the base of all of this, we have an inner dominating thought that is creating that build and destroy and build and disperse, which are the basic three principles of nature: to build, maintain, and disperse. So you're going through this process of building and dispersing and building and dispersing. And there's this part of you that goes, that is the founding thought of all of that: build and disperse and build and create, or create and disperse. Now, there's also a hidden part of you that knows, you know what? Outside of this problem, there's a solution. And outside of this history, there's a further mystery in order for me to get here. So we all have this divine knowing, and the word divine means to emanate light. It's not a religious term whatsoever. But we all have this divine knowing, this divine calling, and and everybody possesses it. This part of us that goes, you know what? I can be more than this. I can have more than this in my life. I am worthy. And in order to get there, you can't fake that. You can't go around saying to everybody, I'm worthy, I'm really important, I'm really special. You actually have to do your work. You actually have to create a congruency between the person that you are and the person that you know you can be. Now, think about what I'm saying here. Because lots of people say to me, yeah, but, my life evolves and changes all the time. And I'll go, so tell me how that works. Well, last year I was in the Bahamas on a holiday. This year I'm going to Bali. I'm traveling the world. I'm having different experiences.
So your brain will trick you into thinking, I'm having all these different experiences. I'm having these, different life, because this year I went to Bali. The year before that I was in Hawaii. The year before that I was in Fiji. But the truth about it is that even though you've done different things, the emotion that's running those scenarios is exactly the same.
Yeah.
So when you were in Bali, when you were in Hawaii, when you were in Fiji, you were still worried about the money. You were still worried about being away from the business. You were still worried about coming back and what you had to do when you got back, etc., etc. So the emotion that you're creating is the same. So your brain will go, you're actually living a different life. You're being, successful. You're doing all these things. But really what's going on is you're still stuck within that cycle. You're still caught within that, in that sphere, because your emotions are still caught within that sphere.
So think about this. Emotions are just energy in motion. That's all they are, just energy in motion. And everything is energy in motion. I'm drinking water here. This is just energy in motion. That's all it is. So what happens is that you have this sphere of influence. You think your life is changing because you're having different experiences, but all you're doing is polishing the brass on the Titanic. You're moving the furniture on the Titanic. And you have this, you'll go through the same stuff over and over and over again. So let's look at it this way. Let's think about the success that you actually want to have. Do you know the minute we start talking or thinking or speaking about the success that you actually want to have, it's still based on the previous past experiences, memories, and emotions. So therefore, every time we go to talk about it, it's based on the same foundation that has created the reality and the success that you're already in. In actual fact, the success that awaits you, we can't even talk about it. Because the minute we start talking about it, we're back in that existing sphere of influence. So what has to happen is, in order to get a person to go beyond the existing levels of success that they have within their lives, the first thing is they must clear the innermost dominating thought. They must first hunt it down, and then they have to clear it. And when you clear that, you reach a point of grace and gratitude inside of your heart, and you evolve outside your existing spheres of influence. And when you evolve outside your existing spheres of influence, because human beings are open systems, I'm going to get a bit technical, because human beings are open systems, the world and the environment around you matches the new frequency that you're now resonating at. So human beings are open systems. We have a capacity to adapt to our environment. And because we have a capacity to adapt to our environment, to ask ourselves the really important questions, the questions that actually make us move, the questions that actually inspire us, the questions that actually wake us up and open our hearts. Because we have that capacity, the environment has a capacity to adapt to our new levels of inspiration and love. And that's what transformation is in our lives, guys. And that's what success is. And as leaders, that is what you're doing. I know that a lot of the leaders that are already on here listening at the moment have stopped, and you will see that your environment has adapted because you went inside, and when you go inside, you never go without. When you shift that innermost dominating thought, when you live an inspired life, the environment adapts to the inspiration that you're broadcasting. And that's what transformation is. Now, your goal and your objective as you emerge into the world, and as you go and you meet people and you start to inspire them, your goal is to get, before you go in there, resonate with that point in time where you truly got grateful and you truly realized that life had your back. Every ocean, that wave that ever washed up onto a shore, every leaf that ever fell off a tree, all of those things were specifically designed in order for you to be able to live in accordance with what is your highest values. They were specifically designed in order for you to emanate and shine, and in order for you to step up into who you are and watch the world around you match the frequency upon which you now resonate. So going into the world and touching other people's lives, guys, remember, always tap into that part of you that gets, you know what? I know in giving these people this product and service that they're going to evolve and things are going to happen for them. And it's going to be pleasure and pain. Don't sell the delusion of plus, plus, plus. Sell the actual certainty of you're going to experience more love, you're going to experience more gratitude, greater connections, you're going to feel a part of something. Because if you look at your organization, guys, and the people I've worked with within your organization, they're full of love. They're very awake. And I've worked with lots of multi-level marketing companies over the years, but I have to say what you guys do, based on your leaders and based on the people that you have around you, you guys are a very extraordinary organization, and feel very grateful before you go into people's homes or you step up on stage that you are in an organization that is emanating this and making such a huge difference in the world. So these are just tips to be able to give you to be able to make sure that as you affect the world, you live in a state of true grace and gratitude. And remember, success doesn't happen in hearts.
I was afraid to interrupt you there.
Sorry,
you were going to explode. Okay, so what Mitch said, that was great. So I also want to say it's really interesting, isn't it, that when we
it's raining in here.
When we when you're looking at a client who you want to get, or a potential client, someone that you want to join you, there's someone that you know could just absolutely do with seeing this. It's really easy to be able to see that from your point of view. It's really easy to be able to help other people. Does that make sense? But when it comes to doing it for yourself, it's a totally different story. So the way that you can think about everything that we've spoken about here is that when you've got to do for yourself exactly what you're asking your clients to do, your potential clients to do. Step outside of the mundane or the routine that they know in terms of the way they eat, the way they exercise, whatever it happens to be. And then, invest in Juice Plus, because Juice Plus is going to give you that. Now, you know it because you've been on the other side of it. You've had another experience of it. Does that make sense? So because you've had another experience of it, they want to be a part of that. And it's easy for you to see the shift from where they are now to where they could be. It's the same here. You've got to do that for yourself. You've got to be able to go, okay, where I am is one level. Next level, what do I have to do? How do I have to be? What challenges do I have to allow myself to face in order to look at things from a different perspective and top down it instead of bottom upping it? Does that make sense? Hope that makes sense to you.
So can I just say something about top downing, right? I'll give an example with my daughter. So I have this little girl and her name is Lexi. And she loves winning. She's just like, she loves winning. And if she loses, she gets really, really affected until we started to understand this stuff. And we were fortunate enough, we've got a documentary being made about us at the moment about the processes and what we do. And we were fortunate enough to have the head of neuroscience of Melbourne University come through and do relationships in you. And I was a person who equilibrated, and I was the person who shifted that innermost dominant thought for him. So as I was doing this, I was talking to him and I was telling him what was going on neurologically in his brain as he was breaking old associations and building new associations and becoming inspired and waking up. And we were discussing bottom up and top down with him for the documentary about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And in terms of top downing, you have to, with my daughter, my objective is not to get her addicted to winning, but to actually get her addicted to the challenge itself. So 1 + 1 = 2. I don't want her to get addicted to the process of winning because the result, the 2. My objective is to get her addicted to the challenge. And as I've done this with her literally over the past 2 weeks, now all she looks for is challenges. And on Wednesday, she received a certificate saying, which is what they call an honor certificate for the little 6-year-olds, saying that she was being honored for the fact that she loves challenges and is able to push her mind to find help to create the best result for every challenge that turns up in front of her. And I was like, wow. And that was simply because of a change of mind inside of me that I was able to pass on to her. It's not about the win, guys. It's about being okay with being top-downing. So when you're okay with top-downing stuff, the world around you changes.
You get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So there's a famous saying that if you can do something for 10,000 hours, you can be a master of that thing, which is true, because if you play the guitar for 10,000 hours, you'd be a master of it. But a true master finds the part of playing the guitar that is not comfortable for him. So, for example, a certain scale, practice that until you've got it right. Then going to another thing like a particular song, practice that until you've got it right. We're conditioned to challenge ourselves in comfortable ways. It's important that you challenge yourself in uncomfortable ways. Challenge it. Find the thing that's the most difficult and work on that. Find the thing that is most sensitive for you and work on that, because when you can do that, so for you guys, that might be going, speaking in front of a certain number of people, or going to a particular event, or, whatever it happens to be. Find the thing that is most challenging for you and work on that, because then what happens is you're in creation mode. Then what happens is you start to love the process instead of the result.
And you got hold of the reins. So if you don't locate the challenges in your life, guys, the challenges come and find you. They locate you, because you're destined to evolve the immortal nature of your soul. You're destined to, consciousness does not go backwards. We're not becoming gorillas. We're evolving all of the time. And when you embrace the challenge as opposed to the result, what happens is that you go out and you seek your own challenges. That's when you get the results that you actually want. So if you look at Musk, if you look at any of these guys, they're looking at what are the major challenges in the world. And how can I make a difference right now by taking on that challenge and going out of my way and actually pushing myself to be of service here so that the world can adapt and we can be of service to everybody else.
Because if you can be the foundation of the problems that are occurring in your life, if you can have created the life you've already got, well, then you can create the next life that you want. Does that make sense? You can be in charge of that just as much as you're in charge of whatever else is happening here at the moment. So your point of view, your innermost dominant thought affects everything. It affects your relationships. It affects how much money you've got in the bank. It affects your career and how you handle sales and how you talk to people. So as soon as you accept that being challenged and looking for that, training your brain to find the challenge, stepping outside of that, stepping outside of your comfort zone, then you are the one who gets to transform your relationships. You're the one who gets to lead in terms of the money that you have in bank. You're the one who gets to step up and have the successes and share the successes you do in your career. Does that make sense? Because if you were in charge of creating what you've already got here, then you can create something greater.
Oh, you can create anything that you want. So I see that we've got about 10 minutes left. I just want to know if anybody has any questions, or if Celine, you got any questions or anything you want me to talk about?
No, look, this has been absolutely fantastic. There's no questions, some comments about how awesome it is, and some great value. And I think, again, guys, it's, some of the notes that I've just been typing here on my phone kind of thing is so much about how, that question, that innermost dominant thought is what will bring you into every single day. It sets you up. It really kind of impacts your intentions for the day. Because even though you verbally say something, this innermost dominant thought is coming over the top of it going, oh yeah, but really? So by working on that section, and as you said, I love that quote, when you go within, you never go without. When you start to work internally on what that is about, and we've been on that journey for the last few years, you get to see every challenge as a beautiful opportunity to grow. What is the lesson in here? What is it that I'm needing to learn? And honestly, to be honest, what I have found too, and I know we were having a conversation the other day, what I find too is that when stuff comes at me now, for example, that it's kind of like water off a duck's back. It's kind of like, yep, okay, cool. There's a lesson to be learned. What's the lesson? What am I learning? And then I can move on, rather than before I might have had a little bit of a pity party around that and sat in that because my innermost dominant thought was basically around challenging and not being good enough, not being enough in the world. And that, whereas there's certainty there.
Leaders embrace the challenge because they know that it's only overcoming the challenges that as you overcome your challenges, you give other people permission to do the same. Marianne Williamson made a great speech, which I know has been thrown around for years and years and years, but as we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. And you have to understand, in your organization, guys, you are light bearers. That's exactly what you're here to do. When you're walking, you look at the leaders within your organization, and there is a common thread amongst all of them. They are not afraid to go within. They lead from the inside out. And you'll see also that, within the human development industry, I mean, you guys are involved in the human development industry because you spend a lot of time doing your work. I mean, Celine, you've done more personal development seminars than I have. But you do it because you love it. There comes a tipping point where, people go and do personal development seminars because they think they're broken. And then one day they get it, so our objective in relationships and news, we want people to get it. And then from that point, they do it because they love it, because they realize, wow, this was, if I can get closer to me again and become more and more whole and more integrated, the more I'm going to affect the world. We are beyond the point of running around and trying to get successful in halves. We get now that it is not reality to punch the air and and do all that sort of stuff, but that in actual fact, there is way more achieved when we stop and we really integrate. And the word integration means to access internal greatness. When we integrate all of the experiences that have happened in our lives to a point where we feel a sense of love and gratitude, and we're inspired about broadcasting into the world. And you'll see that that's a common thread amongst all of the leaders in your organization. I love when your people walk into our rooms. I'm like, I love the Juice Plus people because they just get it. They really, really get it. You can still go and do the punch the air stuff and do all that sort of thing, and that's great. But you guys also, the people who I'm looking at emerging, especially in the Gold Coast, especially over East, the people who are emerging have really, really done their work. A lot of them have done work with us, and a lot of them have really sat down and gone, you know what, I get it. I don't want to waste any more time, because there is no time to waste. When we think about it, the things it's said all the time, the things that we regret when we get to our deathbed is not the things we've done, but it's the miscommunication, it's the unfulfilled dreams and aspirations, it's the unfulfilled opportunities. And we watch those opportunities get buried in the ground with people. Walk through a graveyard, step over graves, you're stepping over billions of dollars in concepts and ideas, and you're stepping over a lot of unfulfilled dreams and aspirations. So I think that being able to stop and get that it's about doing your own work and stepping into that state of power. That's what allows us to emerge as great leaders.
I just want to add to that, Mitch, like on what you were saying, because, you know, people do sometimes ask me, you know, why do you keep going to courses or whatever like that over the years, or why do you work with coaches, or, you know, being a coach, you know, why do you work with coaches and all the rest kind of thing. And, you know, I think the most important thing, and you kind of alluded to it, it's about, for me, proximity is power. You know, when you're actually in the room with other people that are at courses, they generally are people that are vibrating at a higher level or choosing to want to. And so by just default, it makes you step up even further. You actually step up and kind of go, you know what, actually, I've actually got my stuff together. All righty, okay. Now how can I take that even better and bigger? And Carla put a point on here. She said, as my husband says, I keep doing my own heading. And so today has been a really great, you know, reminder of that kind of thing. Because that's the thing, and I know for myself as well in the past. It's about, you know, a situation happened yesterday where, you know, I went inside that kind of, you know, I'm not enough, the whole little pity party thing talk, and I was like, hang on a second. Let's just stop, take a breath here, okay? Really, what is it I'm about? What am I about bringing to the world? And actually shifted it so that it actually changed my thinking in a heartbeat about how I could actually have a productive conversation around it, rather than one that actually would be probably a loss, never mind a win-win. But it's just so important to actually be putting ourselves in a situation where we get to mix with awesome people like yourselves and those others that are there as well, to really do the work, basically, to do the work.
You know, it's funny. I always find it quite funny when people say, why do you keep learning? Why do you keep doing that stuff? And it's interesting because the people who are asking those questions are the people who are afraid of learning anything new, because they're afraid of getting out of that bottom up mode, right? Bottom up situation. And it's funny to me because everybody has more to do. Everybody has more to grow. Everybody has more to learn. So like Serena Williams going, you know, 4 years old, she's got, you know, she's able to bat, she's able to play tennis. Imagine her going, oh, sorry, I'm an expert now. I don't need any more help. Even now that she's a world champ, when she's a world champion, she still needs coaches. Yeah. She still needs something that's going to help her to continue to grow, to shift her mindset, to up her skills, to continue to move forward. So it's an integral part of who we are, is to because we're all here, like I said earlier, to leave a legacy, to keep learning to be better at what you know, in any way. You know, there's always another level to get to.
I think we've been fortunate enough in terms of our organisation to design a life where, you know, we get to hang out with some of the greatest minds in the world. You're about to come with us, but we're just about to go out with Dave Logan. Dave Logan, Johnny Martini, Joe Dispenza, Dan Millman. We got Paul Bailey. We got Michael Johnson's coming with us, who's a client of mine. I really love Michael Johnson. He's a really great emerging young educator. But Dave Logan wrote a book which influenced Tony Hsieh. Tony Hsieh is the creator of Zappos.
CEO of Zappos, yeah.
CEO of Zappos, which is the biggest online shoe company in the world. Sorry, in America, which is huge. You have to understand that's huge. They have a huge global influence as well. But Tony walked away from he'd sold his business to Microsoft for $270 million US. He was due a payment of $44 million from Microsoft but in order to get the payment, he had to spend a year with Microsoft. The reason he sold his business in the first place was because he didn't like the culture within the organization anymore. And what happened was he then went and spent, in his first week that he was with Microsoft, he had to spend a year with them before he'd get his $44 million. After the first week, he walked away from his $44 million because he couldn't stand the culture within the organization. And the thing about it is that culture within organizations is really, really important. Cultivating the culture within an organization is really, really important. And if you have a look at what Dave's book, it's called Tribal Leadership. It is everybody within your organization should read Delivering Happiness and Tribal Leadership. Unquestionable, especially the leaders. because you guys are already driving your organization. He goes through 5 levels within the organization. I'm not going to go through them now, but you guys are driving your organization. And as you drive that organization, your objective is to get to a level 5 of the organization. And when you read the book, you realize what happens is you realize where you guys are already at. Now, for me, the reason, I love the fact that I get to travel the world and hang out with these guys, because what it does is, as you hang out with them and you read their information, it tells you where you're at. And we need exterior reference points to tell us where we're at. And that's why we have to do personal development work. And that's why we have to keep educating ourselves. Because like Amelia said, Serena Williams does not walk out onto a court and go, hey, it's okay, I got this. No, I got it, everybody. I've got it. She walks out on court and makes sure that her organization is occupied by the greatest educators, or she has the greatest coaches and leaders around her all of the time. So associating yourself with high-end leaders, first off, makes you realize that you're human and so are they. It's very important. They won't let you put them on a pedestal because they know you'll end up putting them in a pit. They speak from the heart. They're just human like you and me, and that's feedback that people need to know. They don't want to be guruized, but the reason that we go and do them and the reason that we hang out with these people is to get where we're already at.
Somebody just asked, I think, Celine, the authors of the books. Yeah. Tribal Leadership has 3 authors. One of them is Dave Logan. But if you go to the Tribal Leadership website, you can actually get it downloaded for free, the audio for free. Yeah. And it's got the supporting documents there as well. And the other one is Delivering Happiness, and that's by Tony Hsieh. Hsieh is spelt T-S-E-I-H, I believe. So Delivering Happiness by Tony Hsieh.
Yeah. We actually, this conference that you're coming on with us, Celine, we actually tried to get Tony Hsieh, but he ended up saying to us, listen, you're better off getting Dave Logan, because he was the one that influenced me in the first place. And they're a $1 billion company now. They're huge based on what these guys have done.
Awesome. Cool. Well, guys, it's been amazing. As my dad has always said, the day you stop learning is the day you die. And he's still learning, and he's 76. So that's why I love being able to hang out with the likes of you guys, and to be able to facilitate opportunities for our team to be able to learn from you. Now, so at this stage, I love to be able to direct people first of all to your website. So best website to be able to go to see what you guys have got coming up.
mjbseminars.com.au.
So mjbseminars.com.au, make sure that you check that out. Now, you've got a couple of seminars, free seminars coming up that I've done them actually myself, and Mick and Cara have done them as well. And where have you got those guys coming up in the next few weeks?
We have this weekend coming up. We have it in Perth. Yep. We have the Mastermind of Money seminar. So the Mastermind of Money seminar is all about mastering your mindset, and the mastering of your mindset helps you master your wealth. It also gives you strategies for that. That's coming up in Perth this weekend, and that's held in our offices in Balcatta, Unit 8199 Balcatta Road, Balcatta. And at the end of the month, the last weekend of the month, which I believe is the 27th and 28th. It's actually a Friday and Saturday. We're holding it in Canberra,
which is the first time we've done the Canberra. So if you're, just so that they can get the tickets for free, because they're just gone to $197 in Perth, I think. If your clients ring through on 1300 77 8933, that's 1300 77 8933, and speak to Taryn or Jade, and mention Celine Egan, they will get their tickets for free. So, and then we love Juice Plusers. So as you guys come in, we'll give you a really good spot up the front. So if they want to come along, it's no problem. It's 2 days of absolute gold. It teaches you how to master wealth, and so that when you step back into the world, wealth is a bit like firing an arrow into a barrel of apples. You just can't miss. So it's really, really good. And we
awesome
help you.
Yeah, awesome information, but not just information, just strategies that are simple to apply, but actually very, very powerful. So so encouraging. But just check out what what these guys are doing. And again, guys, thank you so much. Oh, you're frozen.
Mitch is also really good.
You're frozen, Mitch.
We're back.
I don't know what's happening. Oh, there you are. You froze in a funny face. Scarier than normal, Mitch.
Nice.
Alrighty.
Thanks, guys. It was lovely. We loved it.
I'm going to, I'm just going to unmute everybody so everybody can say thank you. All unmuted, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, so.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
There you
Thanks.
go. There's some lovely faces already. So, oh, there's Miss Cara. Hello.
Okay.
We're being